Welcome back, NFL YouTubers. It's John Kuzma from EndZoneBlog.com, and I want to talk about how, in the midst of the Cleveland Browns' disastrous season, Nick Chubb became a star. So the Cleveland Browns were supposed to take the next step this year. They have Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr., and those guys were supposed to take this team to new heights. But unfortunately, we just haven't seen that on the field up to this point. But they did play well against the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. The Cleveland Browns got a win. And the reason why they were able to win this game, and the reason why they were able to win all the games they've won so far, which is 3, I believe, is because of Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb went over 100 yards against the Buffalo Bills, and he was just breaking them down with his tough running style. And that's been, the formula for this team's success all this season and some of last year too. It's pretty obvious that Nick Chubb is the best player on the Cleveland Browns, and it's to the point where Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. have to start to take a step back. Those guys are getting all the endorsements and they're getting all the publicity in the press, but they haven't earned the right to lead this team into the future. In the National Football League, you have to back it up. You have to lead by example, and you have to perform well on the field as well as, being a vocal leader. And those guys, haven't, they've had good seasons. Well, Odell Beckham Jr.'s had a decent season. Baker Mayfield has struggled, but they haven't been good enough to the point where they should be carrying the torch for the Cleveland Browns. It's obvious that Nick Chubb is the X factor of this team. He's the guy that, it's his offense. He's the guy that has to be the vocal leader. He's the guy that has to set the tone for this team. And everybody should be looking up and answering to Nick Chubb because he's the guy who goes out week in and week out and consistently performs. Those other guys just aren't getting it done. And some will say, well, Mayfield doesn't have the protection up front. And because, there's no protection up front, OBJ isn't going to get enough passes coming his way because Mayfield's constantly under pressure and things like that. That may be true, but Nick Chubb has those same linemen blocking for him up front, and he finds a way to create opportunities for himself where those other guys are crumbling and collapsing and not getting it done. And in Odell Beckham Jr.'s defense, he's had plays where he's looked explosive. That one play where he worked the spin move and got upfield after working the spin move, it was a pretty good play. But Nick Chubb's the guy who's consistent. He's gonna go over 1,000 yards this season unless he gets hurt. And that's the standard of a good running back in this league. Is Odell Beckham Jr. going to go over 1,000 yards? Is Baker Mayfield going to throw over 4,000 yards? I don't know. But I believe Nick Chubb is for sure going over 1,000 yards, and it's because he's such a physical runner. He's fast. He's strong. He's got good vision. He's a great football player. He's the best football player on this team. There's no doubt about that. And, moving forward, they need to build around Nick Chubb. And not only that, they need to make sure that they're anointing the right person because, they let Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. be the face of their franchise heading into this season. And we seen where it got them. So moving forward, it's got to be the best player as the face of the franchise and the leader of the team, the captain of the team, and Nick Chubb, and everybody else has to fall in line. He has to call the shots, and he has to reel everybody else on Cleveland's roster in because clearly they're struggling to get it done. Only 3 wins, one of the most disappointing teams in football, if not the most disappointing team. But like I said, in the midst of all that, Nick Chubb has become a star. I'm John Kuzma. Check out EndZoneBlog.com.